Is it 4 o'clock yet?
The U.S. federal government is saying the future is automated. So they're thinking communications are a necessary infrastructure going forward. So I think it's still very much subject to debate. Thank you. Well, just if they're always online.
All right, good afternoon. We're about to start our last and I must say the best panel of the day, since we always reserve the best panel for the last. Let's see, I'll go ahead and start. It's the mobile platform panel, and I'd like to introduce our moderator, Han Kim. He's the general partner and co-founder of Altos Ventures, focusing on investments in the areas of mobile and software services. He also concentrates on companies with significant businesses in Asia, leveraging the firm's substantial contacts in the region, particularly in Korea. He currently serves on the board of Blue Hole Studios, BookJam, Lohika. Gosh, I could go on this, actually. I know we have his bio in the program book, so I will go ahead and skip that. Before co-founding Altos Ventures in 1996, Han worked at Booz Allen and Hamilton, solving strategic and operational issues for global media, retail, and distribution companies. Previously, he was at Procter & Gamble. Han also served as a captain in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And Han served 2 years in Korea, commanding both U.S. and Korean soldiers. Han received his MBA from Stanford University and BS from the U.S. Military Academy of West Point. Please welcome Han and the rest of the panel.
Thank you. We're going to try to keep fairly casual and light. What we're going to do is have each participant to come up and do a 5 to 7 minute presentation, a very quick presentation, so you get an overview of their companies and the efforts that they're putting into. It's kind of interesting. I was looking at the names and then realized we have one startup company that's totally bootstrapped. We have 2 startup companies, really, it's funded by their corporate parent, both Naver and SK Planet Group, but that's launching their businesses on a global scale as a sort of a startup company. Then we have one company that went public a couple of years ago, and it's becoming a huge juggernaut. And we have one company that's been huge for a long time now, at VMware. So I think the order at which we're going to start is we're going to start with SK Planet, and if Jihyun could do a quick presentation, it would be great. And then we're going to actually, after the presentation, we're going to start asking questions, and it'll be better for the audience to jot down some questions that you might want to ask and then start engaging on discussions rather than me giving the panelists a very sort of a softball type of questions. So.
Welcome and thank you for attending this session. I hope you leave today with more insight on offline retail innovation and business chance via smartphone. Today, I'm going to discuss the opportunity for innovation in offline retail in South Korea and our escape planning strategy. Before we move on, let me quickly go over about our business. For 15 years, SK Planet have been in business for total mileage and the loyalty program called OK Cashback. OK Cashback's total loyalty program has about 50,000 large enterprise affiliates, letting customers to earn a portion of payment as a converted mileage point that is then usable at other large enterprise affiliates. Traditionally, the loyalty program was plastic card-based. However, in the era of smartphone, it's new, primarily based on the mobile. At this time, let's watch a commercial clip introducing the loyalty program, OK Cashback. This commercial program, they are famous entertainer. Our loyalty program, mileage program, the OK Cashback. Recently, the business has combined the plastic card and the smartphone application to give offers that match user preferences in terms of specific location and time, as well as real-time deals. In fact, the ratio of mileage usage and point savings has been increasing since. Another fact is that about 30 million out of 35 million smartphones in Korea use Android. Of these phones, the majority were purchased less than 1 year ago. Therefore, we can say that Korean people quickly adapt to new technology. SK Planet supports conference organizers and affiliates in improving marketing excellence and customer experience by providing an NFC beacon. When a visitor installs a conference hall, tags a smartphone to our beacon, the information regarding the store, such as product details, sales, and offers, appear on the consumer's smartphone screen. Unlike other BLE-based beacon or Shopkick sound technology, our NFC-based beacon is cost-efficient and does not require power source. Also, the beacon has a safe security system and activated only for direct user movement to decrease unnecessary alarm sound. The visibility and self-tagging makes the beacon to have a higher user activation rate. Merchants appreciate our beacon because by installing the beacon, they can scoop more visitor information and offer customized promotions that generates more foot traffic and customer transaction. PayPal and Estimate, you might know it, in the US, use BLE beacon rather than the NFC-based beacon. The key to innovation is not the technology, but the use of technology as a means to deliver value to user and merchant. Actually, innovative movement in technology can be seen in many offline retails. Similar solutions are being introduced not only in Korea, but also in the US and globally. As an example, let's see one Korean company's solution for offline retails. This solution digitizes paper stamps for many cafes and restaurants. For example, at a Starbucks, the user can stamp the device on the customer's phone, which then leaves a mark on the app. User doesn't have to go to the setting to tap on anything, so it's different from the NFC or Bluetooth technology. It's a simpler solution. User needs to just unlock the phone and start stamping. The merchant can also know who and how many received the stamp, when they received it, and this allows the merchant to send real-time and specific offers to generate return visits. You can see a digitized loyalty program that has a retro feel. What sets the digital stamp apart from the traditional stamp is that the digital stamp can help merchants retain and manage customers. Out of 50 million population, only 10 million works in small business, but still, many small, medium-sized business owners depend heavily on our system for store operation, VIP care, and marketing. Korea has a strong IT infrastructure. However, many of my friends that own restaurants and pubs still pass out flyers and paper coupons. As a matter of fact, They need a new effective solution, but it doesn't exist for them. However, the smartphone is rapidly changing the consumer's lifestyle. For example, many Korean people use a smartphone to order grocery online without making a trip to an offline store. I used to go shopping at my local grocery store twice a week, but not anymore. Each year, Korean food delivery services use $60 million worth of paper flyers for advertisement and promotions. But a food delivery service app called Delivery Citizen is replacing the flyers. Delivery Citizen, like Yelp, provide information of local food services and gives credible online reviews. Therefore, Delivery Citizen has high user ratings. Another interesting story is Ticket Monster. It's similar to Groupon, the social shopping platform. Ticket Monster plays an influential role to merchants in Korea by offering iPad POS systems. Services include data analytics such as real-time visitor information, business operation, promotion, reaction, and other statistics. In addition, let's look at Korea's top search portal, Naver. Every day at 12 p.m. lunchtime, Naver's application sends a special lunchtime offers and coupons to users. Big online companies in Korea have already started providing mobile service to boost offline retail. Actually, we can know the smartphone users' appetite and desires just by looking at their photo galleries. Photo galleries are filled with desirable items called odd man need. Food people want to eat, place they want to go, and activities they want to do. Of course, the galleries also have photos of things they already have the met need. Remember, what merchants really want the most is a fast solution that is delivered wherever the consumer is and one that satisfies the consumer's craving. And this is the end of presentation. Thank you very much.
Basil?
Good afternoon. My name is Basil Hashem. I'm the Senior Director for Mobility Solutions at VMware. And Han told me that I am the odd man out. I am the oddball in this group because I come from a large enterprise software company that's not consumer focused. So humor me for a moment, and I will tell you how VMware is attempting to be applicable and relevant in the mobile space. So let's see here, next slide. All right, so this conference and seminar has been about essentially these kind of global trends that you're seeing, the rise of social, the importance of mobile, how you take advantage of the cloud, and the rise of big data. We don't need to talk in any more detail about that, but those are the kinds of trends that we see driving the kinds of applications that VMware's customers are needing to support. In particular, if you think about how applications have been built over the past. In the past, you had a very large mainframe with thousands of users, but only a few administrators and a few set of applications where the goal was to essentially lock that thing down and control it. And then in the 70s and 80s, we had the client-server area where they essentially IT built silos of innovation, and you had millions of users and thousands of apps, but still it wasn't that massive. With the mobile and cloud era, essentially what's being introduced is this giant explosion of applications. The type of connectivity is changing. The nature of the apps is different. There's billions of users that are going to be using these things, whether it be consumers or you as a employee of a particular company. And the way that IT is needing to manage this now is essentially as a service. And so VMware's goal is essentially to enable corporations to deliver IT as a service. They do this through virtualization. So what is virtualization? Maybe some of you are familiar with that. It's essentially the way to take compute and storage and networking and make it available in lots of different form factors. And what it does is it liberates the resources from the physical assets and allows it to be migratable and movable to different locations. So essentially, it takes you from that client-server world and is able to push you into and help you migrate to the mobile cloud world. When you do that, essentially, your IT folks are not spending time essentially doing routine tasks that are easily automated. They're able to essentially spend more time on the innovation aspects of their job, which is the goal of what much of IT is supposed to be, as an enabler. In fact, we've done some surveys, and VMware customers, on average, spend more time doing innovation than on IT automation and maintenance. And our goal, as we're trying to get to IT as a service, is to increase that even more. Get apps rolled out more quickly. Find out how you can provision things very, very smoothly. Move resources around based on demand. That's the goal of what this virtualization provides. Now, you may ask yourself, okay, that's fine that you're doing it in the IT world and for large data centers, but what about consumers? And so the VMware strategy today is in 3 buckets. First, there's the software-defined data center, which is the ability to define a network of computers, compute, storage, and networking, and allow that to be defined completely by software, independent of the underlying layer. There's the end-user computing, which is trying to take that similar technology and apply it to end users, meaning employees of companies, partners of companies, and so on, and deliver that in a hybrid cloud way. A hybrid cloud being resources where that you have it on-premise within the corporation, as well as through a public service. So from the challenge that these IT administrators and infrastructure administrators are facing is that there's a lot of pressure from all these different groups that you see here, whether it's the operations team or the CIO or the CFO or the mobile team, all are asking them and demanding all these different things. As the infrastructure admin is thinking about how they deliver things as a service, they have to meet all these various needs. Now let's take one particular one, which is the global workforce. And so these are your employees. What are the employees facing? Essentially what they're facing is they're bringing their mobile devices and they're saying, here, I want to be productive at home. I want to be productive when I'm on the go. Give me access to these on my bring your own devices. So what we essentially say is, okay, there's a set of applications that you want to make available. We'll put those in a virtual workspace and allow you to access those. And what that does is gives you the ability to separate your personal from your work data, and it gives the user choice in terms of deciding what devices they want to use, potentially what applications they want to use. At the same time, the IT group is concerned about the security and the protection of the corporate assets, and they do that in a way that is respectful of the privacy of the end user. We can talk a little bit more in terms of what VMware is doing in particular and the instantiations of these on Android and iOS devices, but I just wanted to give you a sense of how VMware is kind of taking that same kind of technology that we've built up in virtualization and applying it in a mobile context. So,
thank you. Next, we're hear from Kent Mobile. Kent Mobile is a sort of a separate spin-out from NHN, and they spun out a group of people just to focus on mobile apps. And Manho will give us an overview of, I think Manho will talk a little bit about Line, which is a separate business from Kent Mobile, but talk a little bit about that, and then also talk about the kind of products that they're building at Kent Mobile.
Yeah, thank you for your introduction, Mr. Kim. I'd like to talk about how we are Korean-based social service going into the global markets. So actually, electricity and PC and the car and the phone are invented by scientists and entrepreneurs. But actually, mobile is the converged products of the PC and internet and the phone. So actually, nowadays, many people are using a phone and spend many hours in mobile media relative to the other media. So we can spend on some those media in the media, and we can find some trends and users' behavior. So we are very lucky to be born in this kind of early stage of mobile era. So there's a bunch of opportunities waits us, and it's just beginning, I think. So actually, Korea is the one country where some mobile environment is saturated. So relatively other global markets, but Korean has many mobile devices, and we are already experiencing some saturation. So, and also the major mobile phone major manufacturers in Korea, like Samsung and LG, and then also high network penetration. 90% of network is from 3G, and 41% and just LTE. So it's a kind of older story, but Cyword is first Korean social network. It's dominated Korea whole nation in a few years ago, and then several same community where the social services have been adopted by many users after that. So, and also the Line and KakaoTalk is the first global success story in terms of mobile platform. So our Line is reached to 100 million users recent years, and the KakaoTalk is reached to 120 million users. And now in Korea, there's many users who are using phone very highly and emergently. So if you watch those young users' behavior, you can sense what trends will become up in next years. So it is very good to us to watch those people behaviors. It's very meaningful to start your company in Silicon Valley in here, or bring your product into a big market like the US. But yeah, it's a pretty good. If your product is survive in this competitive market, so your product will be strong after those period. But actually, we see those other opportunities in the emerging markets. So Indonesia and Thailand, the users adopt some mobile devices very high, and they're experiencing a mobile device first than other landline web internets. They are skipping those internets. So the Path and Spotify are also, they want to have a local presence in those emerging markets also. So when we go into those local market in emerging markets, so we cannot avoid just competing with those global big players. Actually, I want to talk about the new social trends. Actually, just mobile is born for just communication between the people, connecting people. So, Facebook and Twitter is based on just web social kind of. So they're going into the mobile space. But WhatsApp and Line and KakaoTalk is Messenger. Is this based on a mobile, and they are logging into their phone number ID. But actually, we see some new trends. The young users in US are going into other place. They have friends and mother and teachers. They don't much time to spend their private things sharing with those teachers and parents. So they're looking for a private space or a safe place to share with. So I think the social network must be very flexible. So you can choose some groups you want to share with. So we're going into some restaurant or watch a movie and play a game and just buy some birthday gifts. So all those things happens when you meet some group people, like university students and classmates, alumni, and family members, and the other church kind of things. And so we have just built another social network service called the Band. So that is the private focused group service. So we launched that app in last year, August, and we currently reached to 20 million users. And weekly basis, 50% is actively use this app. So reach 2 billion monthly sessions, and dominantly Korean users have used this app, but we're moving into Japan and Thailand and Thai and US and China. So actually those kind of social application has a very similar features like a messenger and a group and friends news, but we are focusing on a group. So we can invite many users who are using different types of applications or social messengers. So we believe that next social will be the private space, so we can connect the people in the name of the same group. So we're gonna have 4 different types of business model in a band. So actually that is the major business model in IT and a mobile sector. So we think that we provide some content and commerce and game and advertisement. So globally, we are going into Japan and other Southeast Asian first, and going into the Western market. Thank you very much.
Our only startup company right now. Perry from StoreMate.
Thanks, Han. So, hi everyone. My name is Perry Tam. I'm CEO and co-founder of StoreMate. Basil, I actually think that you're wrong. I'm the only odd person here because, all the companies here are really great and big names, and I'm really honored to be on this panel and share the stage with all of you. So, today, I think first of all, I would like to introduce everyone to StoreMate and myself. So before I go into that, my name is Perry again, and before I founded StoreMate, I actually worked at Facebook and helped them architect their payment system. So the whole platform payment was part of my work before I founded StoreMate. So we founded StoreMate in year 2009, March of 2009. And the goal of founding StoreMate is basically building the biggest gaming network, mobile gaming network on iOS and Android. And in the last 4.5 years, we have done a lot of work, and I'm happy to kind of share some of the high-level stats here with you. First of all, we've been named as the #1 private company in top grossing for 2012, alongside with like EA, Sega, and a lot of other mobile game developers. Our games in collectively is downloaded over 600 million times. That's mainly on iOS and Android only. And we have built a network of over 200 million devices in our mobile gaming network. Every single day, we have 10 million DAU, that's daily active users who log into our games, play our games, and that's across 40 different titles. So we have more than 40 titles that's active currently on the app stores. And a little bit more about the company. The main reason why most of you have not heard about us because we have been very quiet and we have never raised any funding. We're a totally self-funded bootstrap company, even though we have over 200 employees. All of us are in Westwood Shores, so if you're in the Bay Area, this is about 30 minutes drive from here. And we have, we are able to afford to not waste any funding because we have been profitable in the last 18 quarters. And we have been very, very diligently shipping games, shipping titles to build up our network. On average, we ship 1 game a month in the last 4.5 years. So this is a quick look into kind of the growth of our company in terms of DAU-wise. Again, we started in 2009. We only make free-to-play games. All of our games are free-to-play. No, our users don't need to pay any money if they don't want to. And the only way that we can capitalize and monetize on them is we keep them engaged and keep them coming back. And we started in 2009 when there was literally no competition on iOS. There were like very, very few people who tapped into the iOS platform at the time, and Apple just opened up their platform back then. And over the years, we have built many, many different titles. We never take the approach of like one-hit wonder. We actually take the multiple hit approach, which means we branch into different genres and different titles. So we have over 40 plus titles across 5 different genres, and there's no one game or one title in our portfolio that account for the lion's share of our revenue or DAUs. So just a quick look into the different genres that we have in the company. We have MMORPG games, very hardcore, social casual games, a little bit more female-oriented, social arcade, very quick, a couple minutes of gameplay here and there, and then social casino, bingo, slot, and poker games, and then we're starting our mid-core franchise this year. So more to come for that genre. And in terms of again, I mentioned that we built a company with the mindset of building the biggest gaming network on mobile. So, one thing that we've learned in the last couple of years is network size does matter. It matters a lot. And we have built about 200 million devices, 10 million DAU. And the benefit of building that is really to twofold: lower our user acquisition costs, so we literally pay 0 to very little when we cross-promote some of our titles, and also improve the user value by moving them to different titles, and the fact that we offer multiple titles increase the user value for the company. And this is one prime example where I want to showcase here is this a title called Bubble Mania that we launched about a year ago, and it hit 1 million downloads within 3 days. And the most interesting thing is we actually spent $0 for making that happen. And we have reached top 10 free game on Apple App Store on day 1 when we first launched it, given the fact that we have a really big network. And it remained in the top 25 for over 60 days. So again, that showcased to you that kind of the way that we leverage the network is not just kind of flash in a pan per se to shoot it up there, but actually we look into the durable of our title and make sure that they stay on top for a long period of time. So that's one of the main key way of how we leverage our network and why it's so important for us to keep our own network private to ourselves. And what's next on the mobile that I would like to maybe in this panel we can kind of talk a little bit more about it. It's not really about the answers that I have here, but just want to point everyone into that direction of thinking about what is really going on in mobile space and why is it so interesting. It's like app discovery is still one big problem for a lot of app developers. How do you get your app discovered? And there's only a handful of apps that get revenue today. So I think if all of us can spend some time talking about it, that would be great. And then international, Android is huge and internationally, and there's a lot of opportunity. Most of our user base is in the Western world, so US, Canada, Australia, UK, and Western Europe. So I think international is a really, really great opportunity for all of us. And then social aspect of it, we have seen that games with the social aspect actually increase user value by many, many times. Here it's at 7 times. And there's 3 times more likely that they would come back and play the game again. So I want to kind of see if that kind of learning that we have got in the gaming space would be resonating well with the bigger audience here that, outside of gaming. So thank you very much.
We're going to switch gear a little bit, and then Tomer will give us an overview on LinkedIn.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Tomer Cohen. I lead mobile products at LinkedIn. It's no secret that mobile has completely changed our lives. I'm sure that many of you actually suffer what's called nomophobia, which is the fear of having my phone far away from me. Mobile has also changed the world. There's more mobile devices sold every day than babies born. So it's no surprise that mobile has also changed companies, and mobile has dramatically changed LinkedIn. It's actually interesting to just look at the numbers coming from mobile, and that's just the growth rate of mobile. Just 2 years ago, we were 8% of traffic, and now mobile is roughly around 40% of traffic from LinkedIn. And that number is going to reach our mobile moment next year, which we surpass the desktop in traffic coming to mobile. So mobile is incredibly very valuable to LinkedIn, and even so that our mascot for mobile growth is the panda. I don't know if you guys know, but panda grew from 5 ounces in the first day to 60 pounds by the end of the first year. So we kind of masked the growth of mobile to the panda. But with that growth rate, you really have to kind of understand your customers, you understand your users, your members, and how they interact. So we kind of digged into the data, and this is how a day in the life of a mobile user looks like. You can see it sets across the PC, the laptop, and then you have phone and tablet. Those is across the day from midnight to midnight. And to really understand it, you want to dig in and kind of go over it by platform. So if you start with the desktop experience, you can see the classic 9 to 5 work day. We start a day, we go to work, we open the laptop, we finish work, we go back to home, and then it usually sleeps throughout the night. But when you go to the phone, you actually see that always on connected experience. So many of you can resonate with I start my day with a bright light in my eyes, and then I end my day exactly with those bright light of the phone in my eyes. So all phone is kind of connected to you throughout the day. Tablet is interesting. It has this coffee and couch phenomena, where you wake up in the morning and you start with your coffee. You kind of go over the news and some stuff like you see on the web, and then you kind of let it sleep till you get to the evening time, and then you kind of pick it up again with news and videos and TV. This is why in many ways tablet is considered the infotainment device. So with that knowledge of the user behavior on LinkedIn and with the growth, for us it was a really interesting evolution of the products itself. So I'll take you in a quick journey back in time when we had our first app. It was 2010, and it was really a dashboard with 12 icons. Was focused more on utilities users could kind of choose from multiple options what they wanted to interact with. And then we kind of took the data and started learning about how we can help users find what they need. So when we kind of reached around 15% of traffic, we launched our new app, which was brand new, redesigned from scratch. And it was all around simplification. We moved from 12 areas to 4, which we felt were more necessary for those segments of users. And those probably were the outbound professionals. Those were the road warriors, the salespeople, journalists who were on the go all the time using LinkedIn to basically be better at their meetings and be more productive on the go. But as time goes by, we actually started innovating around those users as well. And then the year after, we launched our iPad app, which was more focused around the infotainment curve you saw before. So it was more news-focused, more content-focused, and that was built as a magazine layout. And then we continued, and the year after, we actually launched a new desktop version. That was actually quite interesting because we were able to take a lot of the learnings and insights from mobile and bring them to desktop around simplification, around interaction. So it was interesting how desktop was able to leapfrog over the phone and tablet apps into its own simplified version, make it all look like one big family. And then we started this virtuous innovation cycle, where this year in April we launched a new phone app, and then just recently we launched our tablet app. And that's how we actually work around innovation with LinkedIn, where every platform takes the learning from the previous platforms and then continues to innovate. Those latest applications are pretty interesting because they were targeting 2 inflection points for LinkedIn. One was we saw people coming more every day than before. It used to be that LinkedIn was the place you would go to find a new career opportunity, a new job. But now it became the place you go to be great at what you do, to be more productive at your work and more successful. And then the second inflection point was we're actually seeing users in many shapes and form coming to LinkedIn. So it was no longer just the word warriors, the outbound professionals. It was also the general professionals, from engineers to product managers to people who work in operations and so on. So it became widespread. So we had to kind of try to personalize the app to their own use cases. So with that, another change for us in the philosophy this year was the understanding that we need to keep simple, and try to always even simplify what we did so far. And we came with the belief that every app should fulfill a wish. So in many ways, it's hard to do because if you look at our desktop versus the phone version, it's very different. It's very hard to actually have the same number of utilities you have on desktop with the same length and real estate on the phone app. So when you try to match that hundreds of thousands of page views and product pages into phone, what you get is something close to this interaction where you get the kind of phone kind of blowing away. And we just launched 5 new apps in October. That was basically trying to tap into those use cases. So the first one is the flagship app that I'm sure that many of you know already, and that's the LinkedIn app itself, which is in a way a Swiss Army knife for professionals. It serves the general professional update stream inbox, looking for people, viewing jobs, joining conversations on groups and companies. But then we also released our contacts app, which is more around the outbound professional, a way to kind of reorganize your address book, see specific insights about your network, and also our card munch application was inside that. We also, a few months ago, we bought a great company called Pulse and their news app, and we integrated that into LinkedIn as well. So we have a news consumption app because that's becoming a very strong use case on LinkedIn as we offer specific news for professionals that can help you be better at what you do. And then we launched a recruiter app, which is towards our B2B business, where we allow talent executives and talent professionals find and source talent through LinkedIn, source their new hires through LinkedIn. And then another innovation that came for us this year was the intro app that allows you to see basically profiles of professionals already in your email. So it's not even an app, it's built into your own iOS email client. So that was kind of the evolution for us going forward, and that's, I would say, in everything else, it's continuously evolving, and we always kind of challenge the status quo for us. So I look forward to the discussion today. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. While Tomer sits down, so while the LinkedIn memory is fresh, we'll start off with a question. When you, by the way, any of the panelists, feel free to chime in with your own questions so that it's actually a little bit more free flowing. And same thing with the audience. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and then so that we have a little bit more of an interactive discussion. So when you develop a mobile app, do you concentrate on mobile web, Android, or iOS? How do you think about which to concentrate on where? Is it different from region to region?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because we constantly challenge it, and the principle we have thus far is that all of those platforms are incredibly valuable: mobile web, iOS, and Android. So for us, if you look at our launches, they were launched across all of those platforms at once. So whenever we have a big launch, they launch across mobile web, tablet, mobile web, iOS, and Android. And we basically see traffic coming from all of those platforms. That traffic, it tends to be very unique. So mobile web is sometimes our gateway into the experience of LinkedIn on mobile. And then you literally have more engagement over iOS and Android than you have on mobile web. So for us, we are actually working towards funneling users from mobile web towards the native applications, which I think is something that if you just look into your data, into your numbers and data, you'll see much more engagement, sometimes 2x, 4x, than that you see on mobile web. So knowing how to make that transition from mobile web through the apps is actually increasingly valuable, but you still need to have a very strong presence on mobile web, especially in emerging markets, as this is basically in a way, your business card towards people to finding out about you for the first time.
So the next question, I don't know if I promised to ask this question or not. So when are you going to have a LinkedIn Messenger out?
It's a great question. We actually see a great use case for messaging on LinkedIn, and that's also one of the things we were thinking about. For us, a lot of the discussions are our business, our professional, they're happening on top of LinkedIn. Some of them are still very formal, but some of them can be very informal, like you can see for Messenger. So I would say for us, that's something we're definitely looking at and excited about, especially as I use a lot of those apps which were mentioned today. Mostly for a social context. So for us, it's very important to have the professional context of stuff of that messaging.
Yeah, just to put a context around that question, Facebook yesterday, they launched their own messenger. Now, it looks like a messenger, not Facebook chat. And then I didn't realize that on iOS, when you click on, within your Facebook mobile, when you click on the message or messenger button, within your Facebook app, it actually takes you to a messenger app rather than to stay within Facebook. So it's becoming a big war between the social sites such as the Facebooks of the world and potentially LinkedIn's of the world versus the just pure messaging apps that are starting to get into the games and whatnot. So just taking that question, at Storm 8, do you worry whether or not your independent game network is enough, or do you think like you have to jump onto a one of these messenger apps?
So we don't worry. We actually embrace it. For us, for our own network, we have most of the users in the Western world. So US, Canada, UK, Australia, and Western Europe. And we love all the other messaging apps all over the world because that actually gives us an opportunity to tap into those markets that is, some of them are inherently hard to get into historically for multiple reasons. So, for example, China is really hard to get into, and WeChat is definitely making a lot of success there. So, if anyone can kind of get into the WeChat platform there, and you instantaneously have a very good distribution channel, where in the past, iOS and Android both have tough time. iOS, I should say, Apple and Google both had a tough time of distributing apps in those markets, especially China. So to answer your question, we embrace that, and we believe that partnering with those platforms in their corresponding markets would be very, very important for not just game developers, but all developers around the world.
Yeah. By the way, I think what Perry has done with Storm 8 is just phenomenal. And these are, bootstrapping company to 200 plus people just is awfully difficult, especially in Silicon Valley. And so I do provide kudos. And, the one question, totally not related to the business, but as a company building perspective, were you ever tempted to raise capital? Did you go through any dark moments where you thought you might run out of capital and be out of business? Therefore, I should raise some capital?
It's very interesting this question came from you, particularly, and you label it with dark moment. We did assess a lot of different opportunities. Being in the position that we're in, which is great, meaning we don't need to waste money. We are lucky enough to be an early entrant into the mobile space, iOS. And we are lucky, again, enough to find monetization strategy early on. So the company has been making enough money, and we have been profitable in the last 18 quarters. We literally just keep growing the company without really worrying about capital. So there are investors knocking at our doors, and we constantly look into each and individual one of them to make sure if that's a good fit for us, then we would be very, very happy to engage into a conversation. But our most important goal is just heads down executing on the plan that we have. Like I said, we launch on average one game a month for the last 4.5 years. So that's a lot of work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a question on before talking about Camp Mobile's band service. I just wanted to make a sort of a footnote on. I just want to give kudos to Naver as well. I don't know how many of you know, Naver basically is often talked about sort of the Google of Korea, and it's been criticized because they hold near monopoly position in Korea. It's been criticized by consumer groups, startup companies, by the government, all that. And used to be about a $10 billion company until about 6 months ago. And then they decided to split up their games business from their main search business. And since then, their experiment called Line really took off. And so what happened was, even after the splitting of the games business, which provided about 30 to 40% of their revenue, their market cap went from 10 billion to 20 billion today. So I just quickly checked, it's about 20 billion. And now they are developing a service called Band, and that's actually starting to take off quite a bit. I wasn't sure if everybody really understood what Band was doing, so I thought maybe you could provide just a little bit more explanation on Band, why that's a little different from other types of messaging services out there.
Actually, Korea has a lot of social network services from Sideword and Neighbor Blog and Cafe. But and also we are seeing users' behavior like they don't like to share their personal things in Facebook and in other open social network. So when we think about design some new social network service, that must be very different from the other competitors in the other services. So we see those opportunities in the private space. We're connecting people in the same group as a member. So we built this app in only 14 months ago, but recently we reached to 20 million right now. So. But in Korea society, and there's a lot of small community like alumni group and a church and the other religion community and school or in a company. So they share many things in between in those each group, but they cannot share those things in Facebook and the other open space. That's we are. That is the point we are differentiate our apps different from other global app. So, but actually, when we go into the global markets, so we need to have to kind of very different features like so. And we are focusing in album or the calendar and a chat and a board, and that is the only built on a very concept of the group. So when you see at the very first page of the band, you can see the list of the group you like to share, and then pick and choose that one group, and you can see many functions that is only for that specific group members. So in the rise of the feature is not that much different from each other in the Facebook and Line and the band, but the base concept is still not only we are very focused on a group. So you can invite their friends and members and going into that certain space. And so we can provide many different types of invitation channels like Facebook and WhatsApp and WeChat and kind of things. So we're going into that different types of application and going through. So we're connecting to people in their each different groups. So we don't like to compete with those applications or a messaging app. We are just connecting the people in the same group. Yeah, we are just a concept. Yeah.
I mean, it'll be an interesting sort of competition between the Facebooks of the world and the Lines of the world, and the messaging and WeChat that was mentioned. It is huge, and in many ways, I think WeChat is surpassing probably Facebook and even the Lines of the world in terms of the functions, features, and the types of new innovative service that they're putting out. So it'll be very interesting. And just coming back to VMware a little bit, Basil, you were telling me a little bit about that you are actually in the center of VMware but focusing a lot on end consumer market. So maybe if you could share a little bit about how you're doing that, the types of, I know it's very early, but share the numbers of how you're getting the consumers, whether or not do you care about monetization. all that?
Yeah, so let me explain a little bit. I think there's an interesting trend if you see here. You notice that the Facebook applications are now starting to split out. The LinkedIn applications are starting to be different. And even if you look at Storm8, you know, they have a collection of games. And I think what's fascinating about this is that, you know, you're no longer a single app kind of consumer. Everybody has, you know, between 30 and 40 different applications that they're using. And similarly, when we think about an employee at a company, there's a set of applications that they need to use in order to be productive in their business, whether it's expense reports or maybe it's their CRM system or other types of applications. And making those applications available in a secure, managed way to an individual user is the challenge. And so the way VMware looks at it is if we can create a workspace or a collection of applications that are controlled and are delivered to the end user in a secure way, that provides a great solution. And so the way that we're doing it right now, for example, on Android, is that we took some of this virtualization technology and applied it in the Android mobile world. So what you can do is if, let's say you're at a company and typically they will issue you a corporate device, but you also have your personal device. Do you really want to be carrying two different phones around? So the idea is let's merge those two phones together. So you can, on a single Android device, be able to download another virtual Android image and run the applications that are related to your corporation on that same device. So what we've been doing is we've worked with phone manufacturers like Samsung and HTC and Motorola and others to embed the capability to run two phones in one. And so we call these VMware-ready devices. Our partner in the United States has been Verizon, but we're also in discussions with many of the other partners. And there's starting to be these devices that are essentially dual persona enabled. And this essentially will enable a whole set of capabilities for mobile workers worldwide. And so that's sort of the approach that we're taking.
No numbers?
Sure. So we're early, but we have you know, thousands of individual users at various corporations that are piloting it. And since we're in the enablement stage, there are, I would say, probably in the several millions of devices that are now available, you know, at the Verizon stores and other places that are VMware ready. And so devices like the Samsung S3 and S4, the Motorola, the new Razr lines, the HTC One, all of those are mobile, VMware-ready mobile devices, and they're able to be instantiated with this virtual phone.
Okay, next question is for Jihyun. He's actually a person that works out of the Korea office, so you know, have to. I think we're going to lob him a question, but it's going to be a different question than what I promised him, so it'll throw him off a little bit. You mentioned all these small businesses in Korea. In Korea, for people who don't know the makeup, there are tons of small businesses in Korea in a very compact area. And so typically, even restaurants that deliver food, they typically spend a few $100s a month just on these flyers. And so personally, as an investor, I made it a mission to invest in companies that takes the flyer companies out of business, you know, across very many different vertical industries. So I was curious, you know, when you mentioned, you know, the whole bunch of opportunities, and you talked about various companies that offer from coupon service, virtual coupon service, to the services that cater to these small restaurants. Where does OK Cashback loyalty program fit in? Like, who becomes your competitor? Who becomes your business partner? And how do you see the, you know, where do you see the OK Cashback opportunity developing?
Actually, the offline retail market is still 3 times rather than online e-commerce. Yes, so expansion of smartphone not only leads to e-commerce to grow, but also offline retailers to expand the market share. And as you can see in my presentation, SK Planet is seeking to opportunities in the market and planning the business model and expansion based on the offline retail market, not online e-commerce. Finally, we focus on helping and empowering offline retailers by promoting the business opportunity for them. Sole business value is to make offline retail smarter by providing helpful solutions such as marketing, promotion, and VIP care service to increase the foot traffic and sales revenue. I think that's big chance and new business model of SK Planet. Yes, for focus on the offline retail.
Okay, thank you. Could we start taking some questions from the audience? Yes.
For LinkedIn, do you feel that there may be an upstart competitor, or do you feel that you're well positioned, or it'd be hard for somebody to actually penetrate the space? Or what's your major competition out there? Is there major competition?
I think when you look at LinkedIn, it's actually worthwhile to understand how unique and special the company is. The company has 3 business lines. The biggest one, which represents roughly 60% of the business, it's what we call talent solutions. That's the matching of companies who are looking to hire and the talent that is actually active on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn today has more than 259 million professionals on the platform. I think the value prop is actually very unique. So there's always competition, but I think where you can see where LinkedIn is very powerful is that we actually provide access to the passive candidate. So, for example, you might not be looking for a job, but recruiters can actually see your profile, find that it's actually very matching to what their needs, and they'll send you basically an email saying, hey, would love to have a conversation. That's, I think, one of the most special, unique value proposition that LinkedIn is offering, is there's definitely always competition, but I think that's, in that manner, we haven't seen kind of a tough break on that one as well. We have 2 other business models, which is one is marketing solutions, providing marketers with tools to how to basically market their products and services to our professionals on the ecosystem. And we have subscriptions, which is actually the premium subscribers being able to basically get premium features on top of LinkedIn itself. So I think with those, and giving that talent solutions are kind of 60% of our business, I think in many ways there's a lot of vertical-oriented professional networks around engineering, in photography, and so on. But I think the general one, some of them exist in some international companies, but by far with LinkedIn, the global presence is very strong. But as you saw from the product presentation, we are very keen on continuously innovating, especially with mobile, because I think it presents a different opportunity to do things differently in the professional context. So that's been always a big focus for us.
You know, I did ask the same question in terms of, hey, aren't you worried that, like in Korea or China and some other Asian nations, a LinkedIn competitor would come out and potentially build a bigger service? And maybe you could talk a little bit about, you know, where you think you're at in some of the countries out in Asia.
Sure. So I think if you look at LinkedIn global presence, it's very strong. The majority of users are actually outside of the US, very strong in the Americas, very strong in Asia, in Europe. And I think for us, it's really about the power of the network completely. I think the vision for the company is really around the economic graph, because what you have on LinkedIn, you have professionals, you have digitally represented companies, you have universities, you have opportunities in the shapes of jobs and career opportunities, skills, and then there's knowledge share. I think that really allows you to basically see how LinkedIn can actually start representing a digital economy on top of LinkedIn, which is very much of a flat global world. So that's where the company is aspiring to be. Today, we have 259 million professionals on the platform. There are 600 million knowledge workers, which I think this is kind of our big milestone up. And then there's 2 billion skilled workers, which I think this is kind of our second milestone up. So I think in many ways our aspiration as a company will be able to provide every professional with that special skill and opportunity in their career. So if we're not specifically focused on kind of knowledge workers, or in many ways, for us, is the global vision is bigger and really spans across kind of the digital economy.
Any other questions? Yes.
So if I hear the question right, your question is how do messaging application help distribute apps, distribute games? Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So I think if you're from Korea, you definitely have heard of Kakao Talk, and they have, earlier this year and throughout the whole 2014, actually, they have been occupying kind of so their business model is they open up their platform, they let people like Storm8 or other gaming developers integrate with their SDK, and then in that SDK you can kind of send messages back to the Kakao Talk platform, and then by virtue of doing that, then your app can go viral and get more users that way. And if you kind of look into the iOS and Android top grossing and top free chart, you oftentimes see the top 10 mostly occupied with apps that are integrated with Kakao Talk in Korea. So that showcases to you that they have the capability of allowing you to distribute your apps because that's the top free chart. And then if the app itself, if the game itself makes money, then it will naturally become top grossing as well. So that's one of the main ways that people leverage the messaging app to distribute their apps. And at the same time, I think from the messaging app perspective, it works out well too, because that also increases the engagement of their users. So they are not just like, you can talk with your friends, but at the same time, sometimes they like to play games. So there would be a branch out for them to go play a couple minutes of games and then maybe come back and talk to their friends. So I think it goes both ways, but that's how they kind of have the business model there.
Okay, thank you. I think we're sort of out of time, and since this is a Korea Tech Conference, I make one last plug for Korea in general. As you've heard the Camp Mobile talk and the market cap that I mentioned, I think it dispels sort of couple of notions, and you talked about Kakao Talk as well. Typically, I think a lot of the assumption is that first, Korean companies or Korean startups cannot build large companies because either they don't have any real experience in building companies, and secondly, the Korean market is too small to build a large company. And just wanted to point out, those two assumptions are, I think, just flat out wrong, because we have just the Korean market first. It's a big market, and I think Kakao Talk is one of those messaging companies that are focused solely really on Korea. And this year, they're going to have hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and a super profitability. And it's going to be worth, several $billion. And line business actually went from virtually nothing to, they didn't even grow within Korea. They went outside of Korea and grew. So if I sort of do the back end math, it's probably worth about $10 billion. It's going to continue to grow. Both companies, as we always talk about any growing company, any company could actually go out of business at any point. But to the fact that they showed that one company showed that they could grow outside of Korea into a large company, and KakaoTalk, who wasn't able to be here today, and they grew to be a several billion-dollar company already just within Korea. It just shows you sort of what every startup could do. And so I just wanted to point that out. And thank you, all the panelists, for attending this forum.
Thank you so much for a very insightful discussion and very K-Tech-like closure. Thank you so much. And if I can have you stay, we're going to do a raffle drawing right now. I know a lot of you have been waiting for that. So if I can, I'm going to have you guys draw a few raffle tickets. And then we'll do the grand prize soon as well. So this is, we're raffling off Rheum USB fast charger and data transfer. We have 3 of them. So if I can ask you to pick one. Yeah, you have to be present to it. All right, so you have my all right.
388-200.
You have to be present to win. We're going to count 3 counts, and if you're not here, we'll move on.
I say it again, 388-200.
Going once, going twice, gone.
Oh. 200.
Oh, all right, congratulations. Can you come up, please? Okay, let's go to the next. Thank you.
388732. Again, 388732.
732, last 3-digit number. All right, here we go.
Congratulations.
Happy New Year. All right, can you come forward? All right, this is good. You guys are all here.
All right, here we go. Lucky number 388514. 514. No?
514. Going once, going twice, gone. All right, let's pick another one then. Who has it? All right.
Here number is 388915. 388915.
915. No?
Anybody?
Oh. 915. Going once, going twice, gone. All right. Okay. Carry it.
All right, the lucky number is 388212.
212. Oh my goodness. 212.
Why they needed all of us.
Going once, I know. Going twice, gone. All right. All right.
This has to work.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so 388350.
350. Oh my goodness. 350. Really? Yeah. 350. Going once, going twice, gone. All right, back to mine.
I think we need an app for this.
812. Oh my goodness. Please. 81. Oh, there you are. Oh my goodness. All right, so next we're going to raffle off LG. Where's the... It's the LG G2 smartphone, retail value is $599. So this is a big one. All right, so.
And the G2 does run the VMware virtualization.
Number 721.
Last
721.
I saw the hand. 721. No? No? 721, LG G2 smartphone. Yes. All right.
Here we go. All right, 388-182. 182.
182. Come on,
No?
lucky winner. Oh,
Hey!
okay, there you go. All right, while Mr. Park is verifying the number, I'd like to invite Mr. Byung-Kwon Kim, Vice President of Kotra. We're going to do the grand prize drawing. And also Mr. Lim, General Manager of Asiana Airlines of San Francisco office. Okay, this is a big one, guys. This is the round trip ticket. Oh, sorry. This is a round trip ticket, a pair of round trip ticket to Seoul, donated by Asiana Airlines. And so we're going to ask Mr. Kim to draw.
Can I see this?
Oh, no, you shouldn't see it. All right, this is a lucky number. Okay, here you go.
All right, the number is 388-231.
231. Oh, come on. Oh, somebody's going to be regretting big time. 231. Oh, someone said move on. Go, okay, 231. Going once, going twice, gone. All right, we're going to have to do another one. All right. Okay.
The second number is
330.
330.
330. That's an easy one. Oh my goodness. You guys are probably all like, oh, good. 330. Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, oh wow. Maybe we should have a drum roll. All right.
So
There you go.
after this, nobody shows, so it belongs to me. All right. 8, 7. Anybody?
Drum roll, drum roll.
8, 7, no?
8, 7.
All right. Okay. 2.
8, 7, 2. Come on. Oh my goodness. 8, 7, 2. You guys are all holding your breath. 8, 7, 2. Oh my goodness.
All right. All right.
I just. 전혀 없어. I don't have a ticket, unfortunately.
Okay. The first number is 2. Anybody? 2.
Uh-oh. Who
Okay.
has 2?
1, 2. All right. The middle number is 0. 2, 0. Nobody?
Anybody? 2, 0. Oh, wow.
All right. Okay. The last number is 2.
2,
2 or 2.
0, 2. Wow! Oh my, Dr. Lee! Dr. Lee, 예. 이상수 박사님, 예. Oh, wow.
하나 더.
네, 아니요. 하나, 두 분 다 드리고.
예.
Yep. Congratulations. Oh my goodness. Dr. Lee. We're find the number. Oh, wow. Yes, it's 202. Congratulations. Wow. You gotta go take a picture. Congratulations, and thank you again for Asiana Airlines for donating the ticket. Thank you. Thank you. This is the real stuff.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes the day one of our K-Tech conference. Thank you all for staying with us. And once again, let's give another big round of applause to our last panelist and moderator. Thank you so much. And tomorrow we have a startup pitch as well as technology showcase and also IT Expo for those of you who haven't had a chance to attend and check out the companies. So please, we welcome you to come back and check out these companies. Let's also give another big round of applause to the conference organizers, the Ministry of Science, ICT, and Future Planning, as well as KOTRA and NIPA. And to our sponsors, Samsung, Camp Mobile, SK, Asiana Airlines, and Korean Air. And to all of our outreach partners, as well as our staff. And now, we're going to turn it into our cocktail reception in the Sedona room, where you had lunch buffet. For a networking reception, we have hosted bar as well as lots of hors d'oeuvres, sponsored by Samsung, SK, and Camp Mobile. I know you guys are all talking, so I think I encourage all of you to move over to the Sedona room, where there's going to be lots of wine, lots of beverage, as well as a lot of delicious hors d'oeuvres. So please move on to Sedona room for networking reception. Thank you so much for coming.